news, everyone.
It's Jake Ciely.
And there's a surprise in your cereal box. I'm great. Everybody else sucks.
Let's get dangerous.
Yes, sir, random kid I just met.
It's time to check the list.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
You know what? You just made the list.
Hooray! People are paying attention to me.
It's all in football.
Sure, we talk about it all the time.
Really?
No, burn.
What is up, you Ducks? It is almost week 3. It is the finish of week 2. 2 Monday Night Football games on tap to finish out week 2. By the way, that's going to happen again next week. It is All in Football on FTN with Stepmom Lauren. I pointed the wrong way. And myself, Jake Ciely. Follow her at Stepmom Lauren. It's really easy. Just make sure you follow there. Don't go to the website, as we said before. And
No. I'm on page 1.
oh, you're on page 1? You moved all the way up?
Yeah,
So
I have
just
my own
don't-
website,
just don't-
stepmomlauren.com.
No, I know, but
and
you
got
said
her
don't
way.
don't just Google search Stepmom Lauren. That's what
No, you can now. No, you can.
Oh, you can? Oh,
yes,
so it
and I'm
looks-
up,
it's all-
and I'm there. I've taken over page 1, so it is safe now. It is safe for work, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Last time I checked it, it was. So my website, stepmomlauren.com, is out there. So that's usually at the top, along with all of my social media stuff.
There you go. Speaking of taking over, that's what we're going to talk about in week 2 waivers and worries and also much more. But taking over, Zach Moss took over. Zach Moss, Indianapolis Colts, RB1. Well, not the RB1, but an RB1 for week 2. I'll take this one and say, like, I was wrong. I wasn't even starting him as top 20 just because I'm still not enamored with Zach Moss. He looked good in that game. You make the argument, Anthony Richardson, it's the Justin Fields, it's Lamar Jackson, it's the Jalen Hurts argument. When you run that much, it helps the running back or whatever be said. Houston Texans defense is also pretty trash, although they're all putting up some points, which is kind of fun. Houston Texans, fun for fantasy, putting up points and giving up a lot of points. But that all being said, Zach Moss showed up week 2, back from the fractured arm, and took the backfield completely himself. There's no Deion Jackson after he bombed in week 1. Going forward, Evan Hull is going to not return for a few more weeks. If you need running backs, how interested, I feel like we've done this before. How interested are you in Zach Moss, Stepmom Lauren?
Yeah, we talked about this on our Sirius show on Saturday. If you haven't signed up yet, everybody, you can get 3 months for free. I am annoyingly interested, and I said that exact same thing on Saturday. I did not think he was going to do nearly as well as he did, but for sake of desperation and also just plain old volume, especially if Anthony Richardson is going to miss any kind of time here with Gardner Minshew at the helm at quarterback, I am okay with Zach Moss. I really am. I just think it's a short-term lease kind of deal until either Jonathan Taylor comes back or ding ding they trade for Cam Akers. So it might be a short-term lease, but if you need somebody, go for it.
We'll have to talk about that in a second, but just no, we're not. No, Cam Akers. I actually even tweeted yesterday. I said I'm just waiting for next year, where I'm like, yeah, draft Cam Akers in the 10th round because he's the handcuff to Breece Hall or something like that. At least he went from 4th to 7th round this year, but now hopefully maybe 10th round. We'll talk about Cam Akers. Actually, we'll talk about it right now because we might as well talk about Kyren Williams. Kyren Williams last week, we talked on this very show, said he's top 3-4 pick. We talked about the Ravens running backs, Kyren Williams, and Kenneth Gainwell. Those were the top options last week. We had a whole discussion of whether or not you go Kyren Williams versus the other ones. We both sat here and said, if you want more ceiling, Kyren Williams over the Ravens options. If you want more guaranteed return immediately. That's all before we found out that Cam Akers wasn't even going to play in week 2. A healthy scratch as they tried to trade him for the 15th time. It's not me, it's you. That being said, it's a 2-part situation here. Kyren Williams, going forward, Lauren, how confident are you? Because this offense is still basically Puka Nacua and nobody else, which we'll also talk about for a second. But let's just play that game. Kyren Williams versus Zach Moss going forward.
Kyren Williams.
Okay, Kyren Williams versus... Here's interesting, and I want to bring him into the conversation with this whole Zach Moss situation. Raheem Mostert. And I keep calling him that on this show, and I keep calling him that on the SiriusXM show. And people are like, why do you have Raheem Mostert so high? And it's like, because he's the guy for the Dolphins. End of story. The end. That's all. Zach Moss on the Dolphins. I put him at the top 20 running back. He's on the Dolphins, and he's good, though. So here's the problem with Raheem Mostert. We have Jeff Wilson coming back after week 4. we do have Devon A-Chain potentially down the road being a factor. We have Mostert, who has injury history. So, if they're all out there, now you get to rank. Rank Mostert, Kyren Williams, and Zach Moss. All three are available to stepmom Lauren.
Kyren Williams, Raheem Mostert, Zach Moss.
Why do you hate Raheem Mostert?
For all the reasons you just said. If you didn't bring that up, that's exactly what I was going to bring up. Injury history is pretty substantial. Also, this is going to become a crowded backfield, even though it is not yet. Jeff Wilson, like you said, is returning. And don't forget, Salvon Ahmed was sprinkled in there pretty too. He's not the prototypical. Yesterday. Oh, he did get hurt? Shoot, I missed that bit. Either way,
no. He might have been sprinkled in more if not for that. So you were right.
Gotcha. Yes. And but he looks really good when he's on the field. He's not a prototypical running back, but he's fantasy annoying when it comes to having what you would want to consider a bell cow running back like Raheem Mostert. It doesn't mean that I don't like him, and if I have him, I'm going to start him until that man is no longer on the field. I really like the Kyren Williams show because there is no one else besides Kyren Williams in that backfield with no Cam Akers. So I'm going to take Kyren Williams there. And Zach Moss, I just don't believe that much in Zach Moss, even though he proved me wrong yesterday. I just don't think that is a sustainable trend. We'll see what the Colts decide to do. So that's going to be weird, but that's my take.
I have the same order. I would say Kyren Williams, then Mostert, then Zach Moss. I do think Mostert could hold the job. I just don't think that'll necessarily be 70% of the workload for the rest of the season, especially Jeff Wilson coming back. I don't think Jeff Wilson's coming back to take the lead away, but Jeff Wilson's going to come back. So what I could see, and who I'm going to tie into all of this, Mostert with Jeff Wilson back is Gus Edwards and Justice Hill. Not necessarily the same style of players, but that kind of role where it's going to be frustrating. Some weeks you might get the second option having the RB1 performance, and the other weeks you might get the guy in the lead who has the top 20 performance, and it's going to be back. The other kind of backfield that I think falls into this, because there's a lot of people worried, and we're going to talk about that as well, as I'm just going to mix in the worries at this point. A lot of people are worried about Khalil Herbert. And I went and I looked, and I was like, you know what? Khalil Herbert still looked good in that game. So did Roschon Johnson. Let me take a deeper look. And I looked. This number was like surprising to me. I just tweeted this out this morning before the show. Here's what we have. Before and after contact. So this is just week 2. The numbers are a little bit different week 1. But before contact for Khalil Herbert, 0.86 yards. Getting hit not even a yard upfield. But after contact, 4.14. For Roschon Johnson, 6.5 before contact, 1.5 after. Now, I'm not saying Roschon Johnson stinks, and I'm not saying Khalil Herbert's amazing. What I'm saying is for if anybody's going to go crazy for Roschon Johnson, maybe bid on other people if he's still available, but if you also have him, to sell high, because I think this backfield is the Ravens' backfield, just with a worse scoring offense. Like, what's the difference between Gus Edwards and Justice Hill? The same thing that's the difference between Khalil Herbert and Roschon Johnson. It's basically the copy-paste, same teams, same style quarterback, just one has a much better quarterback and offense.
Yeah, I think we knew this going into it. Where Khalil Herbert was getting drafted was pretty late. So it's not like this guy was going to be your RB2 even. He'd be a flex option at best, I think. But the problem is this Bears offense, just like you mentioned. It's not high scoring. It's not high powered. There's really not a lot of opportunity for them to keep it on the ground all that much. And plus, you still have Justin Fields, too. So I'm a little worried about Khalil Herbert. But when you watch the games, just like you said, he looks good. It's just it's this weird, gross offense right now that has not found their identity. They found no rhythm yet. So I still want to give him a little bit longer of a grace period before I start to throw my hands up and freak out.
Wave your hands around and they just don't care. So would you rather have both Ravens running backs than either Bears running backs? So basically, are you pecking order? Gus, Justice, and then the two Bears, or do you throw one into the mix in between?
I really want to say no, I won't do that. But you know what? At this point, what we have seen so far and my lack of faith moving on into the immediate future, I think I am going to take both Ravens running backs over Khalil Herbert. But it is darn close. I think that he's going to have a breakout here coming soon. But it's disgusting right now. It's the Bears. Like, it makes me mad.
Here's the big one. Would you take Zach Moss over both Bears running backs? Because I don't really like Zach Moss, but here's the thing. I don't like I don't like Cam Akers, but if you told me Cam Akers was going to cut, like, this is what I'm going to play it out as. You said Cam Akers, at this point, he gets traded to the Bears. This isn't going to happen, but I want to make my point, is he hasn't looked good. He had 20 billion touches and got 20 billion yards with no extra on week 1. He did nothing with them. But if he got traded to the Bears, it was like, you're getting 70% of the work. Guaranteed. Lock it in going forward. It's going to be miserable a lot of times. But the 70% work is why I bring that up, to say, like, I would take 70% of the work on the Bears. We're just not going to get that. So I'll take the 70% of the work on the Colts offense, which is a little bit better than what we thought it might be. And that's why I would take Zach Moss over both Bears running backs.
I would too. And it makes me not feel
like
good as I say it out loud.
I don't even want to eat lunch now.
I know. I wish I could argue with you. I really wish I could be like, no, it's okay. I have good reasoning, but I don't. Like, I really would. If you need a starter and you need someone who is going to get the volume and get some workload right now, that's Zach Moss. And I can't believe those words just came out of my mouth.
Oh my gosh, Zach Moss. Would you take? I want to go back to, because I see some sprinkle through. I'm trying to scan the chat while we're talking here too. Is talking about trades. Obviously, great time to trade. We have a trade chart now up over at The Athletic. Go Tigers. Why are you pointing at the Tigers?
Because I felt like it.
Oh, I know. It's like, what does that have to do with the trade? So, trade chart there, trade chart at FTN. Use both of them. You can, they're like different ways, different conglomerations. No, is that not the right word? Whatever.
I knew what you meant, though.
Amalgamations. I'm making up words now. Amalgamations. Yeah, I know. So it's like amalgamations, just a new word. So, if you go to both sites, you can kind of play with it. But I think this is a great opportunity. I saw I don't remember the context because I'm trying to do both, but I saw somebody mention Breece Hall somewhere in there. It was very disappointing. He even tweeted about it. He tweeted the 4 footballs because of the 4 touches he got. We knew the Jets were going to keep him limited. We saw every report about that coming in. And we know the Zach Wilson offense is going to be difficult to enjoy. But all that being said, against the Cowboys, I'm not saying I'm just throwing this one game out. Not for Zach Wilson, clearly. We know who Zach Wilson is. But throwing it out for Breece Hall, like, against the Cowboys defense, do you want to get Breece Hall murdered? Like, that's, like, I know he's frustrated. But the reason I say this is because Raheem Mostert, send him for Breece Hall. Zach Moss, send him for Breece Hall. Basically, go get Breece Hall for any type of these running backs. Now, I'm not saying trade Derrick Henry for Breece Hall, but any of these running backs that are like in this RB2 conversation. Rachaad White, I want to talk about him in a second, but Rachaad White for Breece Hall, do it. Do it now.
Yep. Yeah, I do. And sometimes it stinks right now to have these games for these players, because I talked up Breece Hall, and the verbiage that was used was he's going to, quote, remain on a pitch count. I believe it was remain, something like that. It was close to remain on a pitch count. And then
everybody laughed at it. And I was like,
yeah, and I was like, okay, well, if that's what he can do on a pitch count, I'm all for it. Give me Breece Hall. And then Dalvin Cook got negative yards. I think he had literally negative 0.8 in one of my leagues. And then Breece Hall didn't do anything, barely on the field, barely touched the football. I was like, what is going on? But it does make sense because it's against the Cowboys. You don't want to get these guys immediately hurt because that's their whole offense. They don't have a quarterback right now. So sorry, Zach Wilson. I'm not trying to, be coming at you, but you just don't look good. So I guess it makes sense. But this is one of those opportunities that you have, which is a perfect buy low opportunity. If you can swing something like that where you can get Breece Hall, he's only going to get better. So go for it.
I'm trying to also manually zoom in while you were talking because I like my t-shirts, Mushroom Kingdom, and he's getting chased by the things from
I was wondering what that was.
Those are the Last of Us, the clickers as mushrooms.
Oh, that's
Mushroom
funny.
Kingdom
I haven't seen that show.
chasing.
That kind of stuff scares me too much. I have nightmares.
The show is actually a lot more tame than the game, surprisingly. I want to come back to, like I said, the Breece Hall and this whole conversation of everything that happened in week 2 is a few more players that I did want to mention. Oh, wait. Who I said I was going to come back to? I said I was going to come back to him. And then I just completely forgot. Went out of my mind. I don't know where it went.
Matt Breida.
No. I see you're playing attention real well. I said I want to get to him in a second. My brain, I'm old. And then I'm getting close to that 40, and it's like.
Yeah, who did we say we were going to come back to? It was no, we were going to come back to Cam Akers and Kyren Williams, but then we just went ahead and talked about it anyway.
Did we?
Is
that what it was?
I think we did. I honestly think that's what it was. And you're like, oh, we're going to come back to the Cam Akers thing.
All right, we'll just move on from this. Rachaad White, thank you. Denise, there you go.
Thank you, Denise.
She's been
We
around
are
for
so
years.
good at this.
Loyal follower, listener.
Thank you,
Rachaad
Denise.
White. So the interesting thing, like this was live reaction by me, like watching the games. I was concerned about Rachaad White for week 1. He was in the worry report. Said Rachaad White didn't look good. This is going back to last year. Rachaad White has not looked good. He's getting all the volume. Like I'm stashing Sean Tucker everywhere I can. I have Rachaad White as a low-end RB2 in this week. It's like, Sean Tucker, two catches on like half the snaps that Rachaad White got. And Rachaad White's passing game use was part of what we would say, hey, volume is going to offset it. All that being said, I'm watching the game. Game starts out. Rachaad White looks slow again. Wow. He's like, second half comes around, and whoever talked to Rachaad White at halftime was also probably the same person that talked to the Giants at halftime, because it was completely different in the second half. Rachaad White, explosive. Rachaad White looking really good. Sean Tucker, terrible. After fact, he wasn't even getting any yards. I'm not ready to be like, oh, Rachaad White, great, perfect, everything's fine, forgiveness being made. But how better do you feel after seeing week 2 in Rachaad White? I'll just give you a comparison. Are you now going forward more concerned about Alexander Mattison or Rachaad White? Because I think the concern is now shifted towards Alexander Mattison off of Rachaad White.
You know, I was actually on that train to begin with. I have more fear of Alexander Mattison than I do Rachaad White. So it was very comforting to see him come back in the second half. I think that's the Rachaad White that we know and love. The Alexander Mattison one has been very upsetting for me the last 2 weeks. But yeah, I do feel better. But I am more worried about Mattison than I am Rachaad White.
Would you take Rachaad White or Raheem Mostert?
Oh, Raheem Mostert.
Would you take Alexander Mattison? I'm guessing Raheem Mostert over Alexander Mattison then?
Yes.
Zach Moss or Rachaad White?
I'll take Rachaad White.
Zach Moss or Alexander Mattison?
Zach Moss. Ugh.
Wow.
I can't believe people have to make this decision. This is hard.
Alexander Mattison getting murdered over here. So are you picking up Ty Chandler?
The shade. Yeah, I wasn't really impressed with him either.
Who, Ty Chandler?
Yeah.
I think that's what you just said is the problem, which is why I'm still kind of okay with Alexander Mattison. I think days will be better. The workhorse, bell cow role is still there. Tyler Chandler didn't look too great because I don't think the Vikings' run game looks too great. That's my concern, is that it's the Vikings, not so much the backfield.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But that's baked into it, though. So I have concern for Madison for multiple reasons, one of them being their play calling.
Their play calling. All right, short week. Saquon Barkley's not playing. Even if it's they said they avoided a high ankle sprain, they avoided everything. Like he avoided anything serious more than that. Even if it's a low ankle sprain, it's short week. Thursday Night Football. San Francisco 49ers. That being said, for 1 week and 1 week only, Haynes is having a sale. Come in, 70% off, never again, like they do every single week or whatever that company is. The furnitures that are having like this one time only every single week. There's a department store that's doing it. It's always like, oh, come in this weekend. And it's like, it's the red sale and then it's the Labor Day sale and it's the only time 1 day sale.
My business store do that too.
Macy's. Every single weekend, Macy's got a sale every single week. So this week only, specifically, Matt Breida. Do you have any interest in Matt Breida? Even it's to block your opponent in Matt Breida.
Yeah. Who are they playing on Thursday? Thursday?
San Francisco 49ers.
No.
In San Francisco. They're not even leaving Arizona. They're staying in Arizona until Wednesday and then heading over.
It's just a smart move. But yeah, no, Saquon's not going to play. I would even have to plan some upside options. If Saquon Barkley was healthy and in my lineup, I would have to tinker with some high upside options at flex and wide receiver just to make up for the points I think he's going to not get, considering he's probably not even going to play. I'm staying away from Matt Breida. This defense is too good. Their run defense is stout. This is going to be a weird game. Weird things happen on Thursday, so like watch Matt Breida go off for like 2 touchdowns and
Brock Purdy's going to throw 7
something.
touchdowns.
But I just don't trust that at all. So no, I'm staying away from Matt Breida.
Brock Purdy rebound game facing rookie corners. I mean, look at Joshua Dobbs lit up the Giants. This is, again, I keep pointing this out. Plural. 2 rookie corners.
Yeah.
For the Giants.
I almost texted you like right when because it was 20 to nothing, and I'm watching the red zone trying to like keep up with everything, and I'm like, oh, because they were never in the red zone. It was always the Cardinals, and I'm like, oh boy.
I miss Andrew Siciliano, by the way.
I do too.
No offense to Hansen. But
no offense
Siciliano is red zone. He was the best.
He's the champ. I mean, and Hansen does a great job, But like, I love Siciliano, and like, I do miss him. I'm glad you said that because we do too. We stayed at our house. We're like, where's Siciliano?
Like it was like Hanson's like Leah says, Hanson's like Kirk Cousins, but it's like Siciliano's Peyton Manning. Like it's just it like, is. He's one of the best of all time, and like
I love Siciliano doing Red Zone. I miss him so much.
So where was I got so sidebar on this with like just the disappointment of I was gonna say I was so mad the Giants came back and won that game. Not because the Giants figured you would be. No. It has nothing to do with Daniel Jones. Has nothing to do with the Giants. Has nothing to do because of Survivor. They were the third most picked team in Survivor, and I sat here on this show and I sat here on the Sirius XM show and I said, avoid it. It's a potential trap. Yep. And everything was looking great. I'm going like, we're knocking out a third of the Survivor League. And I'm like at 1,000-person pool. Like, they're gone. It's amazing. And then, nope. There you go. All right. So, worry reports before we get out of here. I have two big ones. Dameon Pierce. Yeah, you're making a face for everybody that's not watching live. Dameon Pierce has been getting not all the work. It's not 80% of the work. The whole used all 3 downs consistently, running around, losing weight, blah, 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 blah. It's not 100% true. He's still getting the majority of the work, but it's not 70, 80% work. And he's kind of looked, Like, for the Rachaad White concerns of week 1, Dameon Pierce has looked at two weeks, and he's not getting the workload of Rachaad White. It's slightly behind him. How many ducks and potential eggs would you throw on Dameon Pierce?
I've got 2 ducks and an egg. I got 2 ducks and an egg. I have 2, and it should be more, but I'm giving some more grace period here. I'm sprinkling it around like Oprah. Rookie quarterback, questions with the health going into it. I think that they're trying to work some things out. I really loved what Tank Dell and Nico Collins were able to do, by the way. They're just experimenting with the new way of doing stuff. I don't know. I should probably give it 3, but I'm going to put positive juju out there and do 2 ducks and an egg.
Oh, there's no positive juju. He's terrible. He's terrible right now.
The egg is getting ready to hatch. I can hear it cracking, but it's not cracked yet.
Is it like from the first Jurassic Park? It's like poking. It's like.
Yes, it is. it's gonna be there.
I think 2.5 is fair because nobody's coming for his job. Like even if they turn
to Dario Gunbowale?
Oh well, he's not a lead running back, and then Devin Singletary fine or whatever. But I think it's like 50-50. Maybe. And then I guess then in that case, I should give him 3.5 because if that were to happen, you can't use really either one of them. And now we're in the Baltimore Ravens situation where it kind of hit like avoid. So, to go back to that real quick, if you can sell Gus Edwards, if you can sell Justice Hill, if you can sell Roschon Johnson, probably not Khalil Herbert, but if you can sell any of them, get away. Unless one of both backfields gets hurt, you're not going to be able to trust either week in and week out. You're probably just going to have to continue to start them all as RB3s. Any of them can finish top 15. Any of them can finish running back 45, unless somebody gets hurt and clears out.
Yeah.
If you can sell high.
The only reason why you're hanging on to these guys is desperation if you need a starter. Like if you're in really deep leagues or something, I can understand. But try to do the trades if you can, like to, just shore up another position maybe. But the only reason why you're hanging on to these guys is a desperation start, and that's not fun.
All right. So last person before we get out of here. And I'll let you pick because here's what's in the waiver worry report. Justin Fields, Samaje Perine. We already talked Madison. We already talked Herbert. We already talked Pierce. Tank Bigsby, Jamar Chase, DeAndre Hopkins. Who do you want to talk about?
Oh, I think Chase is kind of an easier one. Joe Burrow just needs to get, shake off a little bit of rust. He looked a lot better in the second half than he did in the first half, so we'll skip that one. Let's in Samaje Perine. What is going on there? That's a little odd. So I'm good with talking either Tank Bigsby or Samaje Perine. I'm cool with both of those.
We're doing neither.
If you want to talk Fields too.
No. Trick question, because we're talking the Washington Commanders wide receivers and Jahan Dotson. I didn't even mention him.
Thanks, Jake.
I know. I had to do one up from what I usually do to Meanie.
To be totally honest with everyone out there. I should have known.
So, yes, Jahan Dotson, because Sam Howell didn't look perfect. But I will say this, and I'm going to victory lap some Sam Howell just because he's fun. But Sam Howell, playing in Denver against that defense, looked great. He made some terrible throws, made some big mistakes, held the ball too long sometimes. But again, this is essentially his first year. It is his first year as a starter. That being said, the problem is not Jahan Dotson. The problem is not Sam Howell. The problem isn't even Terry McLaurin. The problem is Sam Howell has too many options. Eric Bieniemy is coming over, and has really helped him, has really helped this offense. But John Dotson, as we saw in week 1, 5 right out of the gate, and then quiet the rest of the game. Actually, I think it was 4, and then he had 1 catch like the rest of the game. Similar this week is like he looked like he was getting on track early. I think he was the only person with like 3 receptions, and then all of a sudden, boom, everything shifts. I don't know if the game plan is exploit the opponents with Dotson just to weaken them, like kind of get a couple body blows in there, and then it's like, all right, here we come in for the knockout.
Like loosen the pickle jar so that the other person
exactly.
can come and open it fully.
Like,
yeah,
he's spreading the ball around too much. Even including Curtis Samuel was a down game, but he threw to Curtis Samuel, threw to Logan Thomas, where that punk Kareem Jackson should be suspended multiple games, 2 weeks in a row now, launching himself at somebody. That I'm going to get sidebarred on that if I don't stop. But throwing the ball, Sam Howell is doing good because he's got too many options. So what's your concern to Dotson if you had to give him ducks and eggs?
I'm going to say I'm 1 duck and an egg. I just think, again, this is a situation where I think things need to play out a little bit more. There needs to be some structure, new quarterback. I think there needs to be some rhythm that develops. And I think Sam Howell is really figuring out who he can trust, who he can throw to. And by that just takes a little bit of time. And we've seen Rachaad Dotson make these huge explosive plays several times. Didn't matter who was at quarterback. Same thing with Terry McLaurin. So I'm not necessarily that concerned, but I need to see a few more games of this to really start getting that worry meter going and having all my eggs start, hatching. So I'm monitoring, but I'm not freaking out just yet because Jahan Dotson, in my view, has always been that big play guy. Whereas Terry McLaurin is kind of the little bit more consistent wide receiver one with big play ability. But Dotson really scores his fantasy heyday on fewer targets with really, really big plays. We saw that happen several times last year. So I'm not surprised by this, but I'm slightly concerned. So I'll do 1 duck and an egg for Dotson.
Well, the other thing he does is he gets end zone and red zone targets, which I was about to see where Dotson was for the season. And for end zone and red zone targets, here we go. He has 0. I think that's going to change. Yeah. I think that'll change. Buy low on Dotson, buy low on Chase, buy low on a lot of these options. We'll continue on Wednesday to talk ranks, preview the games. The waiver column is going to be up tonight at midnight, depending on when you're listening. It's Monday night, midnight, Tuesday, 12:01 a.m. And follow Stepmom Lauren, Stepmom Lauren, over FTN, code all in, 20% off, and $1 a month still for The Athletic. They extended it through the end of September. So if you waited for whatever, I know, whatever, just go sign up and stuff. And we'll see you later and stuff.
See you later and stuff. Bye and stuff.
Barkley stuff.